Good Sunday morning to you, everybody. It is Sunday, August the 6th. Unbelievable. I am 2 days away from being 2 months past my summit date. Unreal. Totally unreal. I just want to give a quick shout out as we start this today. I want to give a quick shout out to guys still on the AT and one long trail hiking pair duo, if you will. So on the AT, I want to give a shout out to Red Mage. He is about 100 miles, if not a little less, out from Summit in Katahdin. And for those of you that have been following him like I have, this started back in February, a couple of weeks before I started. And I just can say I'm proud of him because I definitely was one of the ones who, when he started walking, I was like, man, I don't know that this cat is going to have the mental fortitude or the physical fortitude to complete it. And as I watched him progress along the trail and grow, quickly realized that this guy's a little bit different than what he portrayed up front. And I'm proud of you, Red Mage. You're doing great, man. Enjoy the summit. It is unlike anything you'll experience in your life. And I hope that you get to do it under your terms. If you want solitude, I pray that you have solitude. And if you want to be around some close buddies, then I hope they're able to be there with you. Give a shout out to Sunsets and Chica from Appalachian Trail Tales. I still love watching their journey. Every time they post a video, I get happy because I like hearing their experience being that couple walking the trail. And Greg, aka Sunsets, is incredible at keeping up with their finances. So if you want to know how much a through hike costs, man, tune over to their channel and pay attention to what Greg reports, because he has it down to seems like the dang penny. Disciple and Halo. Halo is Disciple's wife. They're over at Not By Sight channel. Halo got to hike with Disciple the last few weeks before they left, and they went and visited New York and went back to Disciples. He was the preacher, I guess you would say, in a wedding. The words are escaping me right now, but anyway, they went back to Illinois, I think, to do that. And I don't know if he's back on the trail by himself yet, but rooting for you, Disciple. I know it's going to be tough transition to get back out there without Halo, but man, keep pushing north. It's worth it. Logo, the Black Appalachian. Still loving your videos, bro. Still, we'll still be here with you all the way to Katahdin. Just keep pushing it, man. Keep doing what you're doing. People are loving it, and you're changing hearts and minds on the trail and behind the scenes back here in the Matrix. So just keep doing what you're doing and just keep being you, because we love it. Dan Haley, definitely a guy that I enjoy watching. He just posted a rant video yesterday about a situation that he encountered, and I hate that anybody has situations like that bother them that much emotionally and mentally. And I hope that was therapeutic for him. I think it was. And looking forward to seeing him continue to push north and make it to Katahdin. Really love the things that come out of his mouth sometimes. Like, he might be a little brash for some, but I tell you, if you can see through all that and listen to his message and his words, they're truly amazing. And he's a lover of nature too. So you can cut him down for using foul language or whatever, but if you just watch how he is and how he protects nature and how he is a practicer of leave no trace, you just can't help but love the guy. So Dan, man, I'm with you, brother, and I look forward to following you. Last but not least, over to the long trail, Mama Star and Little Rainbow, aka Wolfie and Mango. Really enjoying their through hike. This is a mother and daughter combo, and the daughter's 9. Little Rainbow has been a trooper. They took a break off the trail. I hope they start posting more videos. I hope that they made it back out to the trail, but if they didn't, I'm still as proud of them as I can be. They're really amazing, and the fact that Mango walked over 100 miles at 9 years old on the long trail, which is not easy in Vermont. And Wolfie, aka Mama Star, who had to struggle with her own, like, she's walking the trail too, and she also has to be a parent. That isn't lost on me, and I know it isn't lost on the audience. And just amazing stamina and amazing resolve to keep pushing. And I really appreciate y'all's journey. It's been great. All right, so let's get down to some business. That was 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes well spent, because I really think supporting those through hikers is important. And please, everybody keep it up. Get them to Katahdin, or get them to the end of the long trail, or whatever their journey holds. All right, so this week we're going to talk a little bit about adaptation and accountability, a little bit of mind versus body, and last but not least, some courtesy on the trail and at the shelters. This is days 2 and 3, so we're going to cover Neel Gap to Blue Mountain Shelter. So if we look at the screen here, oh, by the way, somebody was commenting, hey man, could you rotate this view around so we can actually read what it says? Actually, this is the way the book's printed and the way that you're supposed to read it. Doesn't mean when you get the book you can't turn it around if you want to read the lines. But the reason why it's like this is because it's showing you the outline of the mountains in a linear fashion. And once you start through hiking, this is the view I always use, because this is what was most important to me. Because this represents the butt kicking that you're going to get for the day. So as we're looking at it here, mile 31.4, Neel Gap, this is where the video is going to start. Got a tough climb out of Neel Gap. I remember this. I stopped at Neel's Gap, recovered a little bit. And this was, if you remember, I got here at noon on day 2. Feet were hurting a little bit right here, and then I started climbing this hill. Man, it was kind of warm that day, and man, my butt was kicked by the top of this. For those who don't remember, I started that day at Gooch Mountain Gap, which is right here, mile 17.1. So by the time I got to Neel Gap 31, that was already, what, 13, 14 miles in, and tough miles because you had to come over Blood Mountain. And then to climb out of Neel's Gap, man, is rougher than I was expecting. So keep that in mind, folks, as you are heading northbound. You get to Neel's Gap and it feels good. Maybe for some of you, it'd make more sense to stop and stay at the hostel or go into town. For me, I just wanted to get away from this madness that we'll talk about when the video starts, and get back up into some solitude. So I started at Neel Gap and then ended at Blue Mountain Shelter. So 50.2, that's where this video will cover in days. The second half of day 2 and all of day 3 will end up at mile marker 50.2 at Blue Mountain Shelter. So let's look at the terrain real quick. We already looked at the climb out of Neel Gap. And then you got a couple of Wolf Laurel Top, Cow Rock Mountain, which we'll see. I got an amazing sunset here, and then a tough down climb, and I remember that, all the way down into Tesnati. I think I'm finally saying that right. I was putting the S after the N in all the videos, but it's Tesnati, I believe, Tesnati Gap. And then if you can see right here, this climb out of Tesnati Gap is freaking brutal. Kicked my butt for sure, and I filmed a little bit of that. And then planes out a little bit. You're up on the ridge line, and as you can see, stiff downhill, but not really bad. Almost all the way over to Blue Mountain Shelter. So good walk in these 2 days. If we look, it looks like there's plenty of water, and there was once you got to a certain point, but I will tell you, North Georgia was still pretty dry. So here's Neel Gap again. If you can look, Swain Gap Spring, all these places were not that full of water during this time. They were just coming off a drought the year before, and some of these sources were not recharged. So really dry year in North Georgia. Probably making y'all sick going back and forth, but anyway, so we're going to move over to the video. Just wanted y'all to get a look at AWOL's guide and give you a quick update on what we're going to be looking at, and also shout out to my folks still on the AT and the LT. All right, y'all, here we go. So just know I'm still trying to get myself accustomed to volume control and everything, because what I adjusted as far as
Everybody else hears this, so I guess I will too.
how well you can hear. Sometimes I can turn it up, sometimes I can turn it down. But here I am walking through the archway at Neel. Yeah, this is supposedly the only covered part of the AT. Some people noted later on that that is not necessarily true, because you go under
Even Neel's Gap.
Go under some road tunnels.
217. It's 1417 for all you military-minded folks. All right, let's see where we get to. A rock top.
Yeah, so you go under some road beds later on, but I would say that's the only man-made house-like structure that the AT runs underneath, I think, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so luckily this is the last video that I produced in SD. I don't have the original videos. I only kept the videos after I produced them, so I don't have the ability to go back and turn this into HD. But luckily, later on, all videos will be in HD.
That is where I'm getting my water from, but hey, it's coming out of the ground, so it's probably the purest water I've had yet. But there just isn't a lot of it, so I'm going to sit here and scoop some and walk back down the trail about 0.2 to an amazing campground for the night. Or I may set up here, I don't know which.
Alright y'all, so here's a great example of a water source not really flowing too much, why you have to carry a scoop with you. Scoop is very important. So what do people use as a scoop? Well, I just take a smart water bottle and I cut off the bottom part of it, and that is now my scoop. I had to scoop out of that little stream right there. That is the only water source that was anywhere near where I ended up camping. And this spot right here is probably 0.3 or 4 up from that water source. So again, take some kind of scoop with you as you start. You're definitely going to need it. I didn't use a scoop much after probably Virginia, but I definitely had to use it a couple of times before then.
Is where you want to put it. You can always put rocks, heavy rocks maybe on the stakes, instead of trying to drive it in. I know in Pennsylvania people were talking about that, but alright, just wanted to show. And I don't get paid by Z-Packs. They don't even know who I am.
So what I was talking about here is the spot that I had to use. You know, sometimes you just got to go with what you have, and this was it. This was kind of level, but it was really rocky, so I was fighting to find some places to put my tent stakes in that supported the setup of the tent. So I was just saying, hey, your options are you can put some rocks on top of your tent stakes, and they got to be pretty heavy so you can get your tent tight, or you're just going to have to live with not having a perfect pitched tent, which was almost the case there. Still doing a nightly wrap up here.
I get the boot hanging in the trees and all that other mess, but it takes some people a long time to get there. You saw John on top of the Blood Mountain with me. I sat down beside him because, man, he impressed me. He has been working at a desk for 30 years, just retired from Minneapolis, and he decided it's time to come do something like this. Challenge his body, shake off those 30 years. He left Amaclola on February the 10th. It's the 17th right now. Took him 7 days to get to the top of Blood Mountain, and I'm hoping he made it down today. For sure he did. Anyway, that's motivating to me. I don't care if it takes you 20 days if you don't quit. Anyway, that's motivating.
Alright, so this leads us, nice segue into what I want to talk a little bit about this week is adaptation to the trail. And anybody that watched my videos knows I talked a good bit about this. My ultimate goal with these videos is I want people to be successful on the trail, to get to experience what I got to experience. It's just an amazing journey that will change your life. However, a lot of people don't get to finish it, and I think that's what Neel Gap represents here. Is that's their first chance to get off the trail. And why do people do that? Well, my argument, my theory is that they weren't able to adapt in those 31 miles. What could help you adapt quicker, more effectively? Man, not coming out to the trail thinking, hey, I'll just get in shape when I get to the trail. This is probably the thing that frustrates me more than anything else that I hear people say is, yeah, I'm buying all this cool equipment and I'm going to be lightweight, but I'm really not doing anything to physically prepare. So I'll just show up to the trail and I'll go slow and I'll just adapt when I'm out there. Yes, that has worked for some, but I will tell you, and especially the older you are, the less effective this method is. So all early riser can say is prepare before you come out physically, mentally, and yes, buy some as good as gear and as lightweight gear as you can possibly buy. And all of this together will make you more happy every day on the trail. And happy hikers are hikers who will stay on the trail and get more enjoyment out of it. Here's the example. The guy on top of Blood Mountain that I was talking about, he'd been 30 years behind a desk. Now think about it. He can buy some lightweight kit, probably spend a lot of money on his equipment. I remember that he had some very nice equipment. When guys who don't prep and girls, when they have to climb a mountain like Blood Mountain and get to the top, their body and their mind are so taxed because they're so out of shape that when they get to the top, all the things that are supposed to be releasing, they're releasing in somebody who is a little bit more in shape, like some endorphins and some serotonin that's making that a pleasurable experience. Their body's releasing cortisol and some other stress hormones that are trying to keep their body from shutting down because they're under such extreme load and stress. What does this mean? Ultimately, science tells us that obviously the better we can adapt to that environment and the faster we can, we get to enjoy things like serotonin and endorphins releasing, which is going to make that moment more pleasurable. We get more meaning from the trail. The opposite end are people who really just aren't in good shape and try to push themselves, and they're releasing cortisol and all these other chemicals that are meant to be fight and flight responses, and really don't allow you to enjoy the moment in the same way. So that's just one example. If I could do anything, I would love to start a company that just helps people prepare for the trail. I'm not there yet. I still got a job to do. I'm at work, but I'll tell you, it is so important and I'm so passionate about it. So please, if you take anything from this video today, realize you have to get out and prepare yourself so you can adapt faster to the trail, so you can get through these rough climbs and enjoy the moments at the top. It's so important. And I really think a lot of people come off the trail because it's just not an enjoyable experience. They get their butts kicked about every 2 or 3 miles, and they're just not getting to enjoy the moments at the top. All right, probably enough said there. Post any comments below if you have some though.
Hill at Neel's Gap and coming down the other side is almost as bad as Blood Mountain. It's nice up here. Gorgeous views. Almost had 360 views.
Here we're talking about.
So anyway, I'm at 546 right now. I guess I need that.
Coming out of Neel's Gap, and it was really rough. So again, for all you coming through, a strategic decision you have to make is at Neel's Gap of, do I keep going or do I stop and recoup? I did a little of both. I stopped. I drank a couple of Gatorades. I ate a couple of frozen sandwiches that they have a microwave there you can heat up. They got pizza there. It is a great outfitter store. Neel's Gap is very unique. So you got to make the decision. Can I recover enough to keep going, or do I stay there and recover that night? And being early in the trail, and for people who aren't as adapted, they don't have that adaptation happening so quickly, it might just be a good thing to either stay at the hostel, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like a dungeon, or get a cabin right there. I think it's Blood Mountain Cabins or something. Let's talk about Neel's Gap real quick. Being that early in the season, man, it was kind of shady to me. I would just offer caution there. There were some shady characters hanging out, and I don't mean just guys who look like hippies or homeless, because I love all those guys. I've met many of great people that had great intentions, who looked shady, whatever that means. But there were some truly shady criminal type characters there that were using that as a staging point. And I heard later on that some of these same characters that I remembered seeing had been caught stealing from people at shelters around Neel's Gap. So they would go out to the shelter, spend the night, come back to Neel's Gap. So just be cautious. That's why I didn't really want to stay there. If I did, I would have stayed in the cabin to kind of get away from the hostel. Otherwise, the store there, Mountain Crossings, is a really good store. And if you forgot something or want to switch out a piece of gear, I didn't think their prices were astronomical. Sorry for the dogs barking. It's Cotton going after somebody. I didn't think the prices were astronomical and that you're paying for convenience. So, man, I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so moving into more of that adaptability or adaptation, right? So these are my compression socks that are, I think, a key reason that I didn't end up with shin splints or other problems with my legs throughout the entire hike, really, until I got injured a little bit up north. So these compression sleeves just go over your calf, and they are money. And what they do is prevent, or try to help prevent, let's say, blood from pulling up and knots forming during the day that you're going to pay for later that night. And ultimately, once the knots start forming and you don't get to recover from them, they start pulling muscles. You start getting things like could get tendinitis in your Achilles, many foot problems, and it's just something you want to avoid. So something as simple as wearing a calf sleeve or full compression socks that go up to your calf really be the difference maker. All right, moving on to the Countability Rock. We'll listen up real quick.
I was going to show you this. This is a use it or lose it tip. It works for me. Gear accountability is huge out here, and always has been throughout my whole adult life with the job I have. So as I'm policing up my camp, I find an object, and sometimes it's my sitting pad that my rucksack's sitting on right now, or I'll find something like this rock. And I call that the, whatever, the accountability rock or whatnot. Sounds silly, but it works. Now, everything, as I start packing up, if I'm going to lay it down and it doesn't go in my pack, it's going to touch this rock somehow. So right now, I know the only things that I don't have in my pack, minus the Z-seat that goes on last, is touching this rock. That way, if you're structured like this as you're putting stuff up, man, you're not going to...
All right, so basically, those who watched these videos early on remember this very well, and this got a lot of positive comments back, and it's just such a simple process. Most times I would use a log. I was just in this rocky place this night, but most time I would use a log because there's usually some kind of log sitting around most stealth campsites. But whatever you use, it's important that you do it. Gear accountability is key, and you become a liability once you start losing your kit. I can honestly say I did not leave one item on the trail my entire 113 days. I did not lose a tent stake. I did not misplace a piece of kit. I didn't leave something laying in a shelter. So this method works. It's simple and it's brainless. And a couple of key points is if you're using a log, and I had this happen a couple of times, man, things will fall off the backside. You'll pack everything up. You got to clear the backside of those logs or your rocks or whatever you're using just to make sure something didn't fall. And trust me, I had plenty of instances where something fell off the back, and luckily I checked. Let's talk about night hiking real quick.
I know the video ain't going to do much good, but I spent the night at Rock Springs Top. Rock Springs is that little tiny thing that you'll see a little bit earlier in my video where I scooped some water out of. When you climb out of Neel's Gap, man, I'm telling you, you're going to want to carry extra water. And you're going to hate me for saying that as you climb that hill out, but it's dry. It's dry for the first 5 or 6 miles, and you're going to expend a lot of water coming up that hill and going down the other side. So keep that in mind. There are a lot of good campsites.
All right, so, I don't know if that's going to hold true in the out years, lack of water past Neel's Gap, but it definitely was this year. My dad lives in North Georgia. They've had a lot of rain this year, so I think the water sources will be recharged. But I will tell you, there just isn't a lot of water sources past Neel's Gap, so keep that in mind. Night hiking, this is, some people like it and some people don't. I'll just pause real quick. But what I will tell you is there are some views to be had at night. And I've heard the argument of, hey, I don't want to walk at night because I'm going to miss a lot of the views. Well, I will tell you, some of my favorite views or sitting on top of a mountain, looking down over a town as the just faintest hint of light was coming up on the horizon, and getting to see all the city lights and those sleepy little villages come alive. Man, I get chills right now thinking about it. So, man, if there's some mornings that you can get up early and climb to the top of a mountain to watch the sunrise, it is totally worth it. Or if you're a later person and you want to keep hiking, man, maybe cowboy camping out on top of a mountain, if you know, or setting up camp up on top of one so you can enjoy that sunset, or you know, maybe even the sunrise the next morning, will change your life and your experience. It is amazing out there. So this was Cow Rock Mountain. I know it's grainy. I apologize for the SD. We fixed it. Still bugs me though. Out in the distance, there's Mount Yonah right here. Talked about, you know, if you've ate at Yonah Burger before, give me a +1. And I was also saying that it was very cool to be in North Georgia because I knew my surroundings. I knew Mount Yonah. I knew a lot of the other places as I was walking by them. I guess as I'm sitting here thinking, I should have the volume up.
Just gorgeous. Cow Rock Mountain.
Just having the sun about to come up over that peak over there, magical morning.
If you're gonna come do it, folks, getting up early is a good thing. This is gorgeous. This is what I'm here for right here. Amazing.
You can tell I still had my, let me pause it real quick. Still had my stick pick with me then, and I was using it in that shot, but very rarely ever did I use it again. It just became problematic having to get the camera inside of it. Just holding it seemed to be so much easier. Everybody's wanting, not everybody, but a lot of people have been requesting, hey man, show us your film setup and how you did the videos, how I got a video posted every day. What I'll tell you, I'll try to do that, but man, it was a cell phone that has Power Director app on it to edit the videos that I captured, and then just being, what's the word, just diligent, having tenacity to keep looking for enough cell phone signal as I'm walking during the day to upload it. That's what made the difference and how I got so many videos uploaded. So anyway, we're moving into, somebody had requested for me to,
for the AT, I'm walking upside of a
cliff out of Tesnady Gap.
So in the gym,
and I'm talking about
things that you should be doing. You know, be careful with this if you've never done some of these, but things like deadlifting doesn't have to be heavy weight, but that gets your entire body strong. Squats if you can, lunges, body weight's good, increase with weight if you can. HIIT training, or let's just say, some people don't like that word, just some high intensity cardio where you're doing real hard work for a short period of time, resting for a short period of time, usually about double what you worked, and then going again. That's going to help you for these uphills. They're tough on me, but I can stop in about 2 seconds. My heart rate's already coming back down. I've already got my breath, and I can keep going. You can see the guys who haven't prepared. They're the ones who have to take about 4 steps, wait there for about a minute, and have to let their heart rate come back down, get their breath, start again. Gorgeous coming up here.
All right, so I won't repeat all of that again. Y'all heard it, but the whole goal with that conversation with the audience is to just get guys thinking, and how do you prepare your body? How can you do it without putting a backpack on and going out and hiking mountains, which I would offer is good exercise and prep for it, but also doing other things to build up strength in your legs and your full body. deadlifting, lunges, squats, all those things that people don't like to do because they hurt are the things that you should be doing. So when you get to the trail, you're not hurting and you can enjoy it versus living through the pain that you should have already adapted your body to prior to stepping out. Mind versus body. Something I want to talk about real quick is when you start the trail, everybody says start out slow, start out slow. Your mind usually wants to do things your body can't do. So again, the better you adapt when you get out there, the smaller that gap will be between what your mind wants to do and your body can do. But you got to have realistic expectations when you get up every day. And like we said in the first video last week, you just got to keep those goals, daily goals, your 1 meter targets. And if you don't get to accomplish your goal, hey man, there's still a positive outlook. You made miles that day. That's positive. You just got to keep a positive mindset and realize that everything that you do, moving northbound or southbound, depending on which way you're going, you got closer to your destination that day. And it's a good thing. And you should be proud of yourself. Last but not least.
Words just came out wrong.
All right, I'm singing here, so we'll definitely skip that. Look at how terrible this video is. Again, I apologize. So courtesy. I got to the Blue Mountain Shelter this night. It was raining. It was miserable. I talked about this on my video. There was a very nice couple and their dog there. I really enjoyed talking to them. However, I went and slept in my tent, mainly because the guy, they came from Atlanta or wherever they lived, and he was sick. And I was like, man, probably not the best thing you could have done to come out here in the rain and cold where people are going to want to stay in the shelter, and then you bring out some matrix disease with you. So just common courtesy. I've said it before, but folks, if you're going to go out and do an overnighter or whatnot, good on you. But just know if you're sick, those shelters are some confined spaces. So sleep in your tent, or just stay home till you get feeling better, hopefully, and you'll have some time the next weekend. And last but not least, I wanted to say, I was going to do it last time, but I met a guy named Phil at the Blue Mountain Shelter that night. He isn't the guy I'm talking about. So it was Phil S. I think he was from Atlanta. Phil, you can correct me. Hopefully you're still watching these. But I'll tell you, I met him that night. I was really impressed. I liked talking with him. And then he followed me all the way to Katahdin. So Phil S., I just wanted to give you a shout out, man. And seems like yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and click on another screen. I'll be right back.
All right, y'all, I'll go ahead and finish this one up. I think these are going to be fairly long every week. I want to tell you that I wish I had more time, or I wish I did have more time to reduce it down a little bit, be more succinct with it. But, man, busy at work. Y'all know, man, Matrix is taking over, but I want to be a part of this, and I hope these are valuable. Keep pressing me with some questions. I'm going to go look real quick and see if I can answer any. Ultimately, next week, looking forward, we're going to cover days 4 and 5. That's where we finally get into full HD versions. That'll cover mile 50 to mile 63.9, which is Blue Mountain Shelter to Addis Gap Stealth Camp. Things we're going to talk about next week. Shields down, for those of you who remember. Some things we can do, some extra items we should take to prevent some pain that I had to suffer through. I'll quickly go over my Sunta watch that I carried, which I have since lost on one of my flights. I think it fell out of my backpack on one of the airplanes. No big deal. We'll talk about camp shoes. And then, those are just a few of the things. And then we'll answer some questions. Ultimately, look forward to these every week. I do, man. So let me go look at some questions and see if there's some we can answer real quick.
All right, y'all, I'm on my video from last week looking down some comments. Had some good ones. Barbara was asking about food, and there's a lot of questions there. I need to attack that one on another day that the video isn't already so long. But Barbara, those are good questions, and I really enjoy that topic, as you know. So I will get back to that one, and if I don't, hit me up. Tom Johnson, he asked, since the video quality was a thing early on, how did you come down on the question of video quality versus size? How much HD is enough HD to look good in YouTube? What kind of file size is typical? So I will tell you, make sure. Yeah, so I will tell you, Tom, that Again, it was for convenience early on because the file sizes were so small in SD, obviously, and I could upload quickly. After I realized that, hey man, the aesthetic quality is worth more to the viewer and to me than convenience. Then I found I was using Power Director. That's an app, obviously you can download on Google Play. I paid the $1 or $2 or whatever to have full rights to it, which I think is very well worth it. And then when you create the video, it just gives you 3 options, if I remember correctly or whatever. And I'm just choosing the HD version, not full HD 1080p, but like a 720-ish type HD. And that seemed to create file sizes. You know, my 30-minute videos are over a gig, sometimes upwards of 2 gigs. And that takes a long time to upload. So again, that's why I think a lot of people just wait till they get to town to upload them. For me, if you have like a Verizon Unlimited plan and you get 3 bars, 4G LTE, it'll upload fairly quickly. And I say fairly quickly as in 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. But in trail times, honestly, that's pretty quick. In matrix time, that's forever, right? It's just something you've got to balance your time with. So I would get up early, or I would upload them as I go to sleep, and then wake up during the night and try to see if it's finished uploading so I can turn my phone off and save battery power. It's painful, man. There's no way around it if you're trying to do it like I did on the trail. If you wait till you get to town, then your viewers just have to wait a little bit longer to see what you're doing. So those are the things you got to balance. Great question, though. All right, next question comes from No right here. I like his little picture. A little Tommy gun, little gangsta. All right, man. He basically talks about how he's been filtering using the Sawyer pouches that the squeeze comes with. And I agree. That is a quick way to do it, and it gives them some break time, which I think is important for some. He's wondering how spread out were the water sources. How many liter bottles do you recommend carrying at all times when leaving Amicalola? So again, it all depends on you and your water consumption. I drink a lot of water, I think, anyway, compared to most. I always had a 1 liter bottle, smart water bottle, and the 0.750 liter water bottle, and I would try to keep those full most of the time. I would start worrying about water when I was down to maybe half a liter. So I will tell you, leaving Amicalola until Hawk Mountain, if you watched last week's video, plenty of water sources from Hawk Mountain almost to North Carolina, man. I was worried about water. Obviously, Neel's Gap is a welcome reprieve there. And luckily, there was some trail magic along the way past Neel's Gap with some water jugs as well. But ultimately, they're spread out. And depending on the season, again, I think it's been pretty wet this summer in North Georgia. So hopefully the water sources will be recharged. Ultimately, it's the balance, right? I said it in one of my videos too. You don't want to carry too much water because you're carrying needless weight up hills. Going to make, again, that adaptation harder, making your body release chemicals that you don't really want to be releasing because you're under an immense load of stress. So the balance is finding out. It's just like food too. How much food is just right? How much food is too much? And how much food is too little? Same with water. And water, you have to worry about it all day, every day. So finding that right balance of weight. So you know if you're climbing out of Tesnati Gap, man, I'm going to chug a lot of water down at the bottom, and I'm only going to carry maybe 1 liter up to the top as long as there's a water source past it. If not, then you just got to suck it up, buttercup, and carry more water if you're worried about it. So again, it's a great question. Got to use your guidebook, and I will tell you this is where GutHook's app comes into play. Saved my butt in Georgia and North Carolina because people were reporting ahead of me what water was at the water sources, allowing me to strategically plan my water a lot smarter. So again, GutHook's app's expensive, but I'm telling you it's worth its weight in gold. For those 113 days, I used GutHook all day, every day. It's an amazing app. Hope that answered the question.
All right, y'all. That's it for the week. Actually, I'm going to try to put out more than one of these videos every week. We'll see, man. We'll see how it works in life, in the matrix, what it allows me to do. Last but not least, today is the anniversary of the Extortion 17 crash. For those who don't know what that is, I would ask maybe if you have time today, just Google it and read about the 38 warriors that lost their life in that helicopter crash in 2011. My unit lost 3 guys in that crash, and still affects us deeply, and it affects me deeply personally. And it was the most tragic loss of life in the Afghanistan theater to date. So anyway, keep those families and kids and babies and parents and those 38 men in your mind today, if you would. Rough for the community. I don't want to end on a solemn note, but something that we should all remember. Those dudes gave their life for their brothers and for their country. All right, y'all, have a good Sunday.